I was learning that the desires that I had were good. I was just plugging them into the wrong things. Okay. Because, like Tillman, what you were saying, you're saying the the desire for the thing kept on growing. And you're like, wait a minute, like, no, I should be satisfied.
Yeah.
But no, it just keeps on growing. It keeps on getting bigger.
Exactly.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Real Men, Real Talk. This is the place where we have uncomfortable conversations in the world's most comfortable underwear. And we'll have a coupon for you later on in the episode. So, I am joined by the illustrious Tilghman, and we're going to talk about higher desires. How do we know as men if something that we want in the moment is something worth wanting? We're going to lay out some desires, some things that we felt, and then we're going to drive a little deeper into those desires and ask, of this thing that I'm feeling right now, what is true about it, and what should I be doing when I feel like I want this thing? And we're going to talk about two categories. We're going to talk about alcohol and explicit content. All right. So Tilghman offered graciously to start us off with alcohol. So Tilghman, lead us in, tell us a story, and we'll just riff on this.
Well, just to clarify, I'm not like a raging alcoholic by any means, but I did partake quite heavily, right? And it was on the verge of becoming really bad alcoholism. It's still, I guess, one of the biggest stories that pops into my mind is like I had a desire to just be comforted and just like shut out the world in times where I felt alone. And so,
Yeah, like what do you love about the feeling of having a drink?
it's like, it's, you ever seen those truck commercials and it's like, that's what it's like driving a Dodge Ram. That's that kind of feeling, right? It's just that first drink, that first initial buzz is like, dude, I can do anything in the world. I become even more fun loving. Like I'll talk to anybody right now, but I'll really talk your leg off if I get a little tipsy. That was the thing where I was chasing that feeling of being sociable, being able to talk to whoever I wanted to, not having to hide underneath a clown mask, so to speak, and just forgetting all of my problems that I was making worse while desiring to be drunk. I would say the biggest story that comes to mind is like, high school, and specifically is like the first time I ever drank alcohol. Little did I know it was going to become a problem here 10 years later in my life. I wouldn't say it ruined me because I've been able to put a stop to it early, but I felt like the desire still was not getting met when I was still using alcohol, because my desire was to be comforted, my desire was to be relaxed, my desire was to be calmed down and be sociable and stuff like that. But the more I partook, the stronger the desire got. I just wanted to partake more and more and more. Something clicked in me one day and I was like, I'm not comfortable doing this anymore. So it's just finding that desire and learning how to turn it into something where my liver's going to love me, my kidneys are going to love me, my wife won't smell alcohol in my breath. My desire to find that comfort and to find that inner peace was just growing bigger and bigger because alcohol wasn't the actual fulfillment that I was getting out of it, if that makes sense.
I feel you.
Yeah.
For me, it's a little different. I just want to sit on the couch, feel good, feel at ease, feel at peace. Now, that in itself is not necessarily a bad thing.
No.
However, this is where I'd go like, what is it costing me? And, I wish I could say that it was me that showed myself what beer was costing me. It was my wife and kids who started telling me what beer was costing them. And what I didn't realize, a couple years ago is that having that beer consistently at the end of the day, I'm not getting smashed or anything, I'm not going nuts, but having that consistent one or two beers at the end of the day caused me to check out, to lay on the couch, fall asleep early. I'm not present and available to my wife and children. That's what it took for me to finally realize, oh, alcohol is costing me something. So Tilghman, what does alcohol cost you?
It's along the similar lines. I am the kind of guy where it's like a bag of potato chips. Once I start one, I'm not stopping. I realized it was costing me like my sleep, my health, and my energy, because the next day I'd wake up and I'd be really lethargic. And it got to a point where 6 to 8 shots of vodka in one night and I'd be totally fine the next day. Like that, it was getting to that point, right? And I mean, like that's a lot of vodka when you think about it. But it was like in those pre-made Monacos, if you've ever seen those. They're tasty, but it's dangerous. And
Yeah.
I'd sit down and I'd drink those like a beer, like 4 or 5 of them, and just be like super messed up. And it just wasn't ideal for me as a father, wasn't ideal for me as a husband, because I would wake up and be lethargic. I didn't feel good. I had a headache. I was bloated. I was getting fat. I was embarrassing to my wife because I knew I wasn't looking good. I was embarrassing to my
Hmm.
son because I was like, hey, this is not the body that I want him to uh, inherit when he gets older. You know, I don't want him to look at me and be like, oh, that's what a real man looks like. So I can get fat and lazy and look like my dad. And most
Hmm.
importantly, dude, it cost me myself. It cost me myself because I did not know who I was when I was in the midst of that. I did not know who I was. I was so lost. I would look at my hands when I was drunk and I'd be like, I don't even know who I am anymore. Like those weird phases where the brain is like super drunk. You're like, I just feel weird. And my biggest thing, man, was just get really drunk, leash up my dog, and go on a walk in the neighborhood. I wasn't doing anything bad in my mind, but I was just drunk and I was wandering around the neighborhood. And there was some nights where I'd come home and like trip over the laundry basket. And then I woke up in the bathtub one morning and it's like, it's crazy. Right. And I don't
Hmm.
know what drove me to that point other than the desire to release, be comforted. You know, I was drinking alone at that point. So I wouldn't say sociable, but it would be like, you know, just to relax myself in a sense.
So there's a great turning point because the title of this episode is Higher Desires. Okay. So when something happens again and again and again, yes, we can blame chemical dependency. Yes, we can talk about all the studies done on addiction and stuff like that. But something that I realized in working through this, and I will get into my thing here in a bit, the way that I got better wasn't just by watching some motivational YouTube video and, well, gosh darn it, I'm going to change my life.
Mhm.
It took me realizing, one, that the thing that I wanted was actually costing me more than I wanted it to. I was actually losing out on the deal. Two, I had to realize for real what I was looking for in that moment. So, in the case of alcohol, like what I was truly looking for is to be at peace, to feel like everything was right with the world, to let go of my day. There are much healthier ways to fulfill that desire
Yes.
and not have it cost you relationships with your wife and kids, your health later on, and your productivity now. You can get a massage, you can pray, you can meditate. Like there are ways to bring down your anxiety. Like I'm not saying this stuff isn't real. But there are much better ways to do that. So Tillman, what are some ways that you've been working through this and satisfying those good and true and higher desires that you have without needing to give up like your health, your relationships? Like how are you turning that boat?
Well, it actually happened very recently. I woke up one day and I had another conversation with myself, just like one on one, maybe between me and God as well. Because he was for sure involved, just a lot of pleading and praying. But I just woke up and I was like, I don't want to be this anymore. You know, I don't want to be that guy that's doing this during the week. And yeah, I know
Mhm.
I don't have control over it. So why is my desire to still go out and do it? Yeah, you know, like you said, we could talk about the chemical imbalances and stuff like that and how it just draws you. But there comes a point where like the desire from within can overcome any kind of addiction that you've caused yourself. And that's what I've been
Mhm.
able to do. Like it's been, you know, my most recent drink was like 3 weeks ago. And that's actually pretty good for the pattern that I was in there for a while.
Mhm.
And so what I've been doing to change it is simply at night. And I found this, Chris, when you don't dead scroll at night, when you get off your phone, the temptation to drink and do bad things, it just rock bottom
Interesting.
because I don't know what it is. And it's, I would say it's the devil almost because he knows what your desires are, what your weaknesses are. So he's going to push that stuff on your FYP or your feed when you're dead scrolling. Because there would be like a Tuesday night, I'd be dead scrolling, I'd see like a video of some crazy Project X kind of house party. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And so I put the phone down and I go get some beer. Like, what's that about? You know? But I found that one, I've been putting my phone down. I've been putting it on the charger. I don't keep it by my bed anymore. That's helped me.
Wow.
I've
That's a good one.
found that,
That's a really good one.
yeah, I found that just a daily reading of any kind of literature, whether it's the Bible, whether it's a really good book, anything like that, I've found like, hey, a paragraph or two is going to get me through. And then I'll just journal down my goals every night now. And that's something that I've started up actually very recently. I write them out as if they're already done. So instead of saying, I will not drink, I'll put down, I did not drink. I did not do this. I did love my wife. Or I'm not going to put, I will love my wife. I will serve my wife. I will put, I served. I did not. I'll make it, I'll speak it into fruition basically. And when I look at it in the morning, I'm like, cool, I didn't do those things today. Let's get after it. So it's like a mindset change, but my desire changed too, because I woke up and I was like, dude, I want to be the person that God intends me to be and be a good husband and father. And along the way, you know, fulfill those needs that alcohol gave me and much healthier options. So I'm saving my health.
Mhm.
I'm saving myself. I'm saving my relationship. And because 10 years down the road, if I was still drinking, man, I'd probably, you know, be alone or my, you know, my son would hate me or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it'll mess you up.
Yeah.
I think we minimize this a little bit too much. We look for these grand acts of like conquering. It's small acts of rebellion against these lower desires
Yes.
that lead us into true freedom and to having higher desires.
Yes.
Mine was explicit content on the internet. People call it the P word. I honestly hate that term. I'd rather just call it what it is, but apparently people are getting censored because they're saying the word. So we'll call it explicit content because we want you guys to come away from this with some actual steps that you can take. So for myself, I got introduced to explicit content like really young. Not as young as a lot of people, but it was somewhere in the realm of like maybe 11 or 12, kind of right at that prepubescent stage. You're starting to have those chemical changes.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, hey, I'm a young prepubescent man. I'm like diving into it. And I looked at everything. So without getting into gory details, it had a stranglehold on my life. And I thought I would never get out of it. I thought of like, well, this is just how life is. I can hold it at bay for a while, but eventually like something's gonna happen and I'm gonna fall off the wagon.
At what point did you come to that realization? Like, hey, I'm never going to be done with this. Like, this is me.
It was, I think it was like after I got married.
Okay.
Like,
Interesting.
because a lot of young Christian guys will think like, when I get married, all my sexual desires will be satisfied and everything will be fine. That is a straight up lie. So I was just like, man, I don't know how to get out of this. And I had been praying, reading the Bible, doing the Sunday thing. Like I thought I was doing everything. But I read a really good book by John Eldridge called The Journey of Desire. And that sent me off on a rabbit trail of basically asking myself, what am I desiring when I look at this screen? And what I realized is for me, I deeply desired unconditional love, comfort. What I realized is that I was actually searching for God. I was learning that the desires that I had were good. I was just plugging them into the wrong things. Okay. Because, like Tilghman, what you were saying, you're saying the desire for the thing kept on growing. And you're like, wait a minute, like, no, I should be satisfied.
Yeah,
But no, it just keeps on growing. It keeps on getting bigger.
exactly.
Well, what's interesting is that when you plug your desires into the thing that they were actually made to be fulfilled by, you truly become fulfilled. You walk away like deeply satisfied and at peace in your soul and in your spirit and in your body. C.S. Lewis has a great quote that says, humans are like cars and they're designed to run on the fuel of God. Basically saying like, if you don't fill up your car with the right fuel, you're going to find yourself empty all the time. Well, in a similar way, I had to turn my desires and break those habits over time.
Mhm.
Every now and then, don't get me wrong, like, I'll see something and I'll feel a certain kind of way. Oh, what?
Do you have like a mantra that you tell yourself whenever there's a time of temptation? Like something that you repeat to yourself?
Yeah. So I'll say, I reject you in the name of Jesus Christ. Like that's my way of dealing with it.
I like it.
And it's just to cut it off from me, to to truly sever ties with it, like say, I do not agree with you. I do not accept you. You will not fulfill my desires. It's to state truth right there, right then. And then as I step back, I ask myself, like, okay, have I been working too hard lately? Have I been stressing about things that I don't need to be stressing about? Have I been rejected by the people in my life? And I feel like I'm looking for validation and love and acceptance. I feel like I need to sort of zoom out just a little bit and talk about this on a broad level and sort of define some things. So we have lower desires, higher desires. All right. Lower desires, we can define those things as something that you can just drift into. Like without even thinking about it, you find yourself there. Whether that's the fifth vodka shot, whether that's looking at all the pictures online, you can drift into that. It's presented to you. It's out there. Like it's on billboards.
It's so
Okay.
easy.
It's everywhere. So there's our lower desires. We can drift into them. There's an initial high, and then there's costs. You're paying on those decisions. Higher desires are different. You need to either sacrifice a little bit or sacrifice a lot, but you'll get this huge, awesome payoff because you worked hard. Like working out at the gym, you have an initial discomfort, but keep on doing that for 5 years, and then 20 years, and then 30 years. It becomes this thing that just feeds back into your life. It's the stream of life that just regenerates you.
It's a game changer when that happens too. You know, you're going to have times where it's going to suck sometimes. It really will.
Well, it sucks a lot of the time.
Yeah. I say sometimes it's going to suck a lot, but at the end, that payoff and that satisfaction of like, okay, so I shifted my desire from wanting to hide everything with alcohol to a desire to be a good husband and a loving father and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And there's just been small payoffs right now, but I know the bigger ones are later to come as well in the future. Our kids will look back at us and be like, "Hey, thank you so much for being a loving father and an understanding father. I feel like I can trust you and bring this topic to you, and I know you're not going to beat me into the ground and be upset with me. And while you might get angry, your intent is going to be loving me and teaching me, not rejecting me."
So, hey, coupon code for this episode, desire. All right. You can use it today only, the date of this episode. But yeah, that's what we'll do. So, guys, my heart behind this episode, Tilghman's heart behind this episode is not, here's a list of things to do better at. Our desire in this is, here's a way to have a better life. And you know what? I'm not going to give it a money back guarantee, but like try it out. I'm just saying I have done this and life is so much better on the other side. It's so much better to have higher desires.
Yes. Let me just say something. So, my wife always hated that I drank Monsters, right? And I still struggle with that. Chris has seen me with it in my hand like all the time.
Yes.
But
Yes, I have.
just yesterday, as an example, I didn't get one. And she was like, "Oh, that makes me really happy." And I was like, huh, I don't want to drink Monster anymore. It's one of those things where if that's a present struggle, just stop. Block your credit card from that gas station, other than unless you're
Yeah.
pumping gas or something, or just don't go
Yeah.
inside.
Do what you got to do to get away from it. First of all, try to get distance. Like in fighting, you can sometimes try to get distance. And then ask yourself, what are you looking for? What are you reaching for? And what can you reach for that will actually fulfill that want in the moment? Because there's a bigger and better desire behind just that simple, oh, I want some caffeine. So explore, go deeper, get out there and discover some things. Guys, try this out. I am spun up about this. I love these things because this is where I've found a lot of freedom. So love you guys. We'll let you go. And I'm going to have a heck of a time editing this episode because this is not as organized and not as short as we normally have them.
It's been a good one, Chris. It's been a good one. If I could help you edit from afar, I would.
Yeah, that's all right. It's my burden to bear. All right. Love you guys. We'll see you later. Okay, cool.
Cool.